A lot to talk about here on Philadelphia Eagles now. I'm Chase Senior. So glad all of you are hanging out here with me. And here's what we're getting into on today's show. According to a report from an NFL insider, the Eagles could trade for a marquee tight end. We'll get into that. Eagles get some breaking news going into this Thursday game against the New York Giants. Could some Eagles roster moves be coming? There was a big meeting between some Eagles stars. And I want to get into an issue that is really hurting this Philadelphia Eagles offense. Before we do all of that, earlier today, I put up a 30-minute Eagles-Giants preview for this Thursday Night Football NFC East rivalry game. Be sure to check that video out. I take a lot of pride in the previews that I do because I do think that with these previews, we give you really in-depth analysis and insight going into this ball game, what to expect from the opposition, and of course what the Eagles do to be victorious. So that video is up on the channel. Give it a watch, of course, after this show. And don't forget to hit that subscribe button, by the way, for daily and free Eagles shows. Anytime I'm in front of a camera, on a microphone, I want our coverage to be insightful, informative, entertaining, thought-provoking. I want you to have a voice. We're 431 people away from 133,000 subscribers, so join the movement today. Will the Eagles trade for former All-Pro and Pro Bowl tight end Mark Andrews of the Baltimore Ravens? This report kind of came out of nowhere, but it's definitely interesting. Eric Williams of Fox Sports reporting this today. A league source I spoke with pointed to the Jaguars, San Francisco 49ers, Rams, Bills, Seahawks, Patriots, and Philadelphia Eagles as possible teams who will be active at November's trade deadline. Teams like the Eagles, Rams, Niners, and Seahawks have shown a willingness to be aggressive in previous years at the deadline. Those teams are also in the top half of the league in terms of salary cap space. And Philadelphia was mentioned as a potential Mark Andrews destination. Now, why would the Eagles do this? Why would the Ravens do this? Because he's been a marquee player for that organization for quite some time. He's on an expiring contract. Baltimore has another young tight end who they really like in Isaiah Likely, who they really want to be a focal point of that offense for the foreseeable future. And obviously, he's a lot younger than Mark Andrews is. This offseason, knowing point number two, the Ravens flirted with an offseason trade of Andrews. He didn't end last year on a good note. That awful playoff game against the Buffalo Bills where he dropped that big 2-point conversion. He also fumbled a little bit earlier in the game. And so Baltimore has kind of cooled on the player a little bit. And Andrews even said mentally he went through the rigor after that playoff defeat. And the Ravens right now, surprisingly, 1-4. And they have so many injuries to a lot of really important players on both sides of the football. And at 1-4, the season might be lost. They might be cooked with some of their injuries. Of note, Baltimore today, by the way, signing safety C.J. Gardner-Johnson to their practice squad. As for the Eagles here, backup tight end is and has been a little bit of a problem for the Eagles. It doesn't come down to Grant Calcaterra catching passes. Some of you were saying that down in the comments section. It comes down to his inability to be a good blocker, which hurts Philadelphia when Goddard is not on the field or when he's injured. This year, Andrews, 21 targets, 17 catches, 150 yards, and 2 touchdowns. For a little while there when he was an All-Pro and a multi-time Pro Bowler, one of the top tight ends in the game. Not that player any longer, but he'd be brought to Philadelphia as another weapon and to really fortify the backup tight end position. Goddard this year has been awesome. He has 4 touchdowns in the last 3 games, but as we know with him throughout his entire career, always injury prone. And Grant Calcaterra right now has an oblique injury, and his inability to block hurts this Eagles passing attack and their running offense. Andrews' numbers over the last 4 years, 2024, that was last year, of course. I showed you the numbers in 2025. 55 grabs for 673 yards, 11 touchdowns. It's been a really good red zone target for Lamar Jackson. 2023 only played 10 games, had that bad injury, but in those 10 games, he was stellar. 45 catches, 544 yards, and 6 tutties. In 2022, 113 targets, 73 catches, 847 yards, and 5 touchdowns. And then in 2021, look at those targets there. 154 targets, 107 catches, nearly 1,400 yards, and 9 tutties. An unbelievable year for a tight end. As far as what a trade would cost, factor in that Andrews is on an expiring contract, and other teams know they were trying to deal him this offseason. So I don't think a trade would cost much for a player who the Ravens almost dealt a mid to late round pick. Today's poll question is this, speaking of this topic, and it's also the pinned comment of today's Philadelphia Eagles. Now, should the Eagles trade for Mark Andrews? T for trade, P for pass. Share your thoughts with me down in the comment section right now. As far as some breaking news that's just coming in this afternoon on this Tuesday, October 7th, short week for the Eagles playing the Giants on Thursday, Saquon Barkley, according to John Clark, says he looks forward to playing on Thursday night. He had general soreness in his knee. He says he would like to keep the conversations with Jalen Hurts and A.J. Brown private, as they had that private meeting yesterday. He says the conversations are about the team. And just as I was starting to record this show, I saw a notification come in that Saquon has been elevated from a non-participant yesterday on the estimated injury report to a limited participant today. He's trending in the right direction. Can this Eagles running attack trend in the right direction? It could start with the good performance against the Giants on Thursday night. And it's been baffling with Saquon, with Jalen Hurts and his running ability, with the Eagles offensive line, how the Eagles ground attack hasn't gotten going this year. It's not for a lack of rushing attempts. They're 7th in rush play percentage, meaning they run it 7th most among the 32 teams in the NFL. They have the 8th most rushing attempts per game at 28.4, yet yards per rush 3.5, 29th. Rushing yards per game 99.8, that ranks 25th. Has to get better. Can it get better? I think it can. Will it get better on Thursday? Opportunity to make that happen, because this Giants defense hasn't been able to stop the run this year. They're giving up 5.3 yards per rush, 29th in the NFL. Giving up 140 rushing yards per game, 26th in the NFL. And opponents are rushing it 26.2 times per game. No excuses for this Eagles offense and running game to not get clicking on Thursday at MetLife Stadium. Still to come here on the show, could we see some Eagles roster shuffling with the emergence and return of a marquee player from last year? There was also that big meeting that I alluded to, and there's an issue hurting this Eagles offense. But first, today's sponsor, fittingly, the tush-push legends that are the Philadelphia Eagles. Today's Eagles Now, sponsored by Tushy, the everyday luxury bidet. And check out the product for yourself at hellotushy.com/chat, because it really is a game changer. Tushy is the everyday luxury bidet that instantly transforms your bathroom habits and bottom health for life. 99% of people who wash with Tushy Wave feel cleaner and fresher after going to the bathroom. Tushy Wave instantly modernizes your daily routine and bathroom with a super sleek seat plus 2 separate front and rear nozzles for the most complete clean. It also features a soft close lid and seat that's slam-proof for a gentle, luxurious finish. Every Tushy bidet easily attaches to your existing toilet without the need for additional plumbing. This is daily decadence with practical benefits. Over half the people who wash with Tushy soothe their hemorrhoids, and 9 out of 10 people reduce itching and discomfort. Instead of wiping endlessly with toilet paper, Tushy pristinely removes 99% of bacteria while also protecting your natural skin barrier thanks to one natural ingredient: fresh water. Remember, I know us Philadelphia fans can be called a-holes, but a-hole is only a dirty word if you wipe. For a limited time, our listeners get 10% off their first bidet order when you use the code CHAT at hellotushy.com/chat at checkout. That's 10% off your first bidet order at hellotushy.com/chat using the promo code CHAT. Going to put all of that information down below, attached to the pinned comment and in the show notes of today's Philadelphia Eagles Now. As far as that Eagles roster shuffling, last week, Eagles opened up that practice window for inside linebacker Nakobe Dean. Today, Vic Fangio, after Dean did not play last week against the Denver Broncos, was asked about Dean's status for Thursday. And Vic said that Dean does have a chance to play against the New York Giants. I'd personally wait a week to get off that crappy turf, but I imagine Nakobe really wants to get back in action. He tore his patellar tendon in the wild card round against the Green Bay Packers, and it kind of happened on a routine play, but his leg just kind of gave out on him. And the Eagles obviously opening up that practice window last week. They have 3 weeks to activate him to the active roster. And Fangio did add that if Nakobe does come back, he wouldn't have a full-time role with this defense because he hasn't gotten necessarily acclimated, hasn't had a lot of practice time, and probably isn't in 100% game shape. And I will say this, with Nakobe Dean returning, I don't think that you can take Jahad Campbell and Zach Bond off the field. They've been one of the best linebacker duos in the National Football League, and they're so unique with their ability to impact the game as blitzers, as edge rushers, and as coverage guys. They've been so good. And the early returns on Campbell, so impressive for what he's been able to do in his rookie year, on top of the returns that the Eagles got from rookies last year, like Quinyon Mitchell, Cooper DeJean, and Jalix Hunt. So taking them off the field, I don't think is a smart strategy because even though Dean is a really good player, Campbell and Bond have been special. What I'm interested in seeing, though, could the Eagles run a 4-3 defense? And then you have 4 up front along the defensive line. Then at the same time, you have Jahad Campbell, Zach Bond, and Nakobe Dean on the field as traditional linebackers. Another thing that you could do is alternate using Bond or Campbell as edge rushers and as pass rushers. And obviously, it's been well documented that the Eagles have struggled to get after the quarterback from that edge spot. Zadarius Smith leads the team in sacks. It's crazy, right? He was signed off the street after week 1. So the pass rushing production from that edge spot has been a little bit lacking. All right, 2 more things that I want to get to. That big meeting between Saquon Barkley, A.J. Brown, and Jalen Hurts, and an issue hurting this Eagles offense. As far as that meeting goes, according to Jimmy Kempski, these 3 met yesterday. And could this help get everybody on the same page? Because this offense has lacked rhythm. It's lacked consistency. And obviously, Hurts, Saquon, AJ, the pass game, the run game, the offensive line, Kevin Patullo, everything's been scattered all over the place, and nobody's really been on the same page. And so Kempski of Philly Voice reported this last night, that Hurts, AJ, Saquon had a long, positive conversation, lasted a couple of hours. I had said during the preview earlier, Saquon is such a great leader, such a team-oriented guy, a team captain for a reason. I imagine he called for this conversation to happen because he knew we got to get on the same page. And whatever's going on between Jalen and AJ, we have to get it figured out. I mean, when Howie Roseman made that trade back in 2022, he made it knowing that Jalen and AJ were close. During AJ's pro day, Jalen Hurts was the quarterback throwing him the football, getting him ready for the pre-draft. They used to be really, really tight. Not necessarily anymore. It's more of a working relationship. Jalen is also the godfather of one of AJ's kids. So something has happened over time where they've separated their friendship a little bit, and obviously some rifts have happened from time to time, and AJ has taken to X to talk about his frustrations with this offense, and it's kind of hard to say that that's not directed at least slightly to Jalen Hurts. I mean, he's the one who's throwing you the ball, but I'd also tell AJ, you've been a second team All-Pro. Every year that you've been with the Eagles, you've gone over 1,000 yards. Every year that you've been with the Eagles. Who's been throwing you the ball? Jalen Hurts. You weren't putting up those numbers with Ryan Tannehill at quarterback. And if you want out, you know Howie Roseman's not going to trade you inside the NFC or to a good quarterback, right? He's going to send you to an organization with bad quarterback play, and you'll probably be more frustrated there than you are here. Grass ain't always greener on the other side. Now, Saquon, of course, from his locker today, was asked about this meeting, and he said, I'd rather keep the details between us and keep the details in-house, but he did say it was about the team. Jalen Hurts said it was about the collective and getting on the same page. So we'll see if it actually worked. All right, Denise Selman, I believe that's how you pronounce his name, puts out a lot of good data covering the Eagles on X and a lot of really good graphics that I'm about to show you here on the show. And he was talking about something that has been a problem for this Eagles offense this year. And it's something that I've talked about a little bit, and it's something that Jordan Mailata specifically mentioned that the Eagles needed to emphasize improving on going into the Broncos game. And it's the Eagles snapping the ball with when they snap the ball with how much time is on the play clock, to just simplify all that. So he put this tweet out and a series of tweets that I want to run through here. The Eagles snap the ball with 5 or fewer seconds on the play clock, quarters 1 through 3 only, and excluding no huddle plays against Denver, at a higher rate than any team in any NFL game the last 3 years. And it wasn't even an outlier for them. 4 of their 5 games have been similar. Consistently getting to the line and snapping the ball late was a talking point all week, and yet there was a key 3rd down sack and the massive 4th down illegal shift penalty, which both seem to be caused by slow procedure. Looking back at the entire Hurts-Sirianni era, the Eagles have always been slower than almost all other teams at snapping the ball. But through 5 games, this 2025 version is an extreme outlier with all of the other 159 team seasons in this period. And Kevin Patullo was also asked about this. Is he getting the play calls in late? He didn't really answer that, and he said, we just have to get better as an offense. That could be a little bit of a problem. Could him going up into the booth help solve this issue? We know that Vic Fangio is up there, and sometimes OCs are up there, like Joe Brady of the Buffalo Bills. But Denise referencing 2025 as an outlier, he wasn't kidding. Look at how far the Eagles are away as the outlier compared to the other years under Nick Sirianni. You see 2021, 2022, 2023, and 2024 all within that range. 2025, far away from that. And an issue this can cause, if you get to the line of scrimmage, but then you're letting the play clock go down, you're basically giving the defense an opportunity to identify what the play is going to be, what play you're going to run, your alignment, your tendencies, and it's a telltale sign when you just are standing there at the line of scrimmage what you might do. It gives the defense more ample time to figure out how to line up and what you might run, which might be causing some of the predictability that we've seen from this Eagles offense this year. Has to get fixed. Hopefully it does. Don't forget to give me a follow on X and Instagram, by the way. Over 40,000 followers on IG, almost 18,000 on X. I'm giving you free content here and free content over there.